Stop everything you're doing and listen to this. Right now, somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria, the smell of frying Akara, those golden crispy bean cakes that make your mouth water just thinking about them, is drifting through the morning air. And if you're like most people, that smell probably makes you hungry, makes you think of comfort food, street vendors, the simple pleasure of hot, fresh food bought from someone's grandmother. But what I'm about to tell you will change how you think about street food forever. Because the hands making those Akara, those weathered, kind-looking hands that customers trust with their money and their appetites, belong to one of the most dangerous men in West Africa. A man who has spent 15 years using food as bait for the most horrific crimes you can imagine. His name is Chief Adebayo. By day, he's Old Pa Musa, the beloved Akara vendor whose stall draws lines around the block. By night, he's a billionaire who believes that every life he takes makes him richer, more powerful, more untouchable. And here's the part that will make your skin crawl. He doesn't just kill randomly. He's been using his food stall to study people, to learn their habits, to identify the perfect victims, the lonely ones, the forgotten ones, the people nobody would miss. For 15 years, customers have been coming to his stall thinking they're just buying breakfast. What they don't know is that some of them are actually being selected for something far more sinister. The story I'm about to tell you happened 3 months ago. It involves a live stream that broke the internet, a teenage girl who almost became victim number 57, and a journalist who discovered that sometimes the most evil people hide behind the kindest faces. By the time this story ends, you'll never look at street food the same way, and you'll understand exactly how a simple Akara stall became the hunting ground for one of Nigeria's most terrifying serial killers. Picture Lagos at sunrise. The city awakens like a giant stretching its arms, millions of people pouring into streets that pulse with energy, color, and life. Market vendors setting up their stalls, office workers hurrying to catch buses, students clutching textbooks and dreaming of their futures. And in the middle of all this beautiful chaos, on a corner where 3 busy streets meet, sits an Akara stall that looks exactly like 1,000 others across the city. The man behind the counter appears to be in his 60s. Grey beard, calloused hands, the kind of smile that makes you think of your grandfather. He wears a simple white agbada, speaks in the warm dialect of the Yoruba people, and fries the most incredible Akara anyone has ever tasted. Customers call him Pa Musa, Uncle Musa. Children run to his stall after school. Office workers stop by every morning for their regular order. Everyone in the neighborhood knows him, trusts him, loves him. But here's what none of them know. Pa Musa is actually Chief Adebayo, one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria, owner of oil wells, shipping companies, and a mansion that sits on 15 acres of prime Lagos real estate. A man whose net worth exceeds $2 billion. So why would a billionaire spend his mornings frying bean cakes in the blazing Lagos sun? The answer lies 40 kilometers away, in a mansion hidden behind walls that rise like prison barriers. Inside that mansion, in a basement that doesn't appear on any architectural plan, Chief Adebayo has built something that would make your worst nightmares seem peaceful. A ritual chamber, walls lined with masks carved from human skulls, an altar made from black stone that's permanently stained with 15 years of blood. And surrounding it all, the tools of his true trade, knives that gleam like liquid silver, ropes that have bound 56 victims, and jars filled with things I won't describe in detail. Because Chief Adebayo believes in something that rational people would call madness. He believes that a deity, an ancient hungry spirit, will grant him unlimited wealth and power in exchange for human hearts. Fresh human hearts, delivered every full moon. But here's the twisted part that makes the story so terrifying. His deity has specific requirements. The victims can't be random. They must be people who have accepted his kindness, people who have eaten his food, trusted his smile, believed in his goodness. The Akara stall isn't just a disguise, it's a hunting ground. Every morning, Chief Adebayo studies his customers like a scientist studying lab rats. He learns their names, their routines, their problems. He identifies the ones who eat alone, the ones who seem disconnected from family and friends, the ones whose disappearance might not be noticed immediately. And then, when the full moon approaches, he makes his selection. The teenager who buys Akara every Tuesday because it reminds her of her deceased grandmother. The construction worker who stops by before his night shift, too tired to notice he's being watched. The university student who counts coins carefully because every naira matters. These aren't random victims. They're people he's been grooming, studying, preparing for harvest. But Chief Adebayo made one critical mistake. 3 months ago, he selected the wrong person. A girl whose disappearance would not go unnoticed. A girl whose sister happens to be the most tenacious investigative journalist in Lagos. Her name is Zainab, and she's about to turn Chief Adebayo's perfect system into his worst nightmare. Meet Zainab Okafor. 28 years old, investigative journalist for a small Lagos newspaper that pays her barely enough to survive. She's the kind of reporter who doesn't give up, doesn't back down, and definitely doesn't believe in coincidences. 2 years ago, Zainab's younger brother, Dayo, disappeared. 17 years old, brilliant student, the kind of kid who had never missed a family dinner in his life. One Tuesday morning, he left for school. By evening, it was as if he had never existed. The police investigation lasted exactly 2 weeks before being quietly closed. No leads, they said, no evidence of foul play. Probably ran away to seek his fortune in Europe, like so many young men. But Zainab knew better. Dayo would never have left without saying goodbye. And more importantly, she knew what his last meal had been. Akara from a street vendor, still warm in a paper bag they found in his backpack. For 2 years, that detail nagged at her. Why would someone buy breakfast and then disappear? Why would someone planning to run away waste money on food? And then, 3 months ago, lightning struck twice. Zainab's 15-year-old cousin, Amina, starts talking about this amazing Akara vendor she discovered. Sweet old man who calls her my daughter and sometimes gives her free food when she's short on money. Amina raves about how kind he is, how his Akara tastes better than anyone else's. Zainab's blood turns to ice. She follows Amina to the stall, watches from across the street as her cousin chats with the friendly vendor. And there's something about the man's smile, too perfect, too practiced, that makes every instinct in her body scream danger. That night, Zainab starts digging. She begins with missing persons reports from the past 5 years, cross-referencing them with the location of the Akara stall. What she finds makes her hands shake. 17 people have disappeared within a 6-block radius of that corner. 17 people whose last known activity was buying food from street vendors. But here's what really breaks the case open: security camera footage from a bank across the street. Zainab spends days reviewing grainy recordings, and slowly a pattern emerges. The Akara stall appears at sunrise. But watch carefully. The vendor doesn't walk to his spot like other sellers. He arrives in a black Mercedes with tinted windows. The car drops him off 2 blocks away, and he walks to his stall carrying equipment that looks handmade but is actually expensive, custom crafted. More damning, every few weeks the stall doesn't appear at all. Zainab checks the dates against lunar calendars and discovers something chilling. The vendor disappears during every full moon. She takes her findings to Detective Chukwu, an honest cop in a department riddled with corruption. He's skeptical at first. A billionaire philanthropist doubling as a street food serial killer sounds like something from a Nollywood thriller. But then Zainab shows him the photograph that changes everything. Hidden in one frame of security footage, just barely visible, is the vendor's luxury watch. Not the cheap timepiece you'd expect from a street seller, but a platinum Rolex that costs more than most people make in a lifetime. Zainab has done her research. Only 3 people in Lagos own that specific model. One is the governor, one is a famous musician, and one is Chief Adebayo. Detective Chukwu realizes they're not just hunting a serial killer, they're hunting one of the most powerful men in Nigeria. A man with connections in government, police, and media. A man who could make their investigation and their lives disappear with a single phone call. But Zainab doesn't care about power or connections. All she cares about is justice for her brother, for Amina, for the 17 people whose families still wonder what happened to them. She convinces Detective Chukwu to obtain a search warrant for Chief Adebayo's mansion. It takes weeks of careful maneuvering, calling in favors, and building an airtight case. And finally, on a night when storm clouds gather over Lagos like dark omens, they're ready to move. But Chief Adebayo has been watching them too, and tonight is the full moon. It's 11:47 p.m. Chief Adebayo's mansion sits in darkness, surrounded by walls, topped with razor wire, and guarded by men who ask no questions and leave no witnesses. Inside the ritual chamber, preparations are nearly complete. Candles cast dancing shadows on walls, painted with symbols that predate written history. The altar gleams with fresh blood from sacrificial goats. And chained to a metal post, sobbing in terror, is 15-year-old Amina. Chief Adebayo, no longer the kindly Pa Musa, stands before his altar wearing robes that cost more than most cars. His face is painted with white chalk in patterns that hurt to look at directly. In his hands, a knife forged from meteorite iron, a blade that has taken 56 lives and hungers for the 57th. The full moon reaches its peak. The ritual must begin. "My child," he says to Amina, his voice gentle as poisoned honey, "you have been chosen for something greater than you can understand. Your death will feed my prosperity for another month. Your fear will make my deity smile." 3 kilometers away, Zainab and Detective Chukwu watch the mansion through night vision binoculars. The official plan is to wait for backup, surround the property, and execute the warrant with overwhelming force. But backup is 20 minutes away, and Zainab can't shake the feeling that 20 minutes might be too long. "Something's wrong," she whispers. "Look at the lights." Every window in the mansion has gone dark, except for a red glow emanating from the basement, the kind of light that suggests fire, ceremony, or worse. Detective Chukwu checks his watch. 11:52 p.m. Full moon, directly overhead. "We can't wait," Zainab says. "If we're right about the lunar cycle, whatever's happening down there is happening now." They make a decision that will either save a life or end their careers. They're going in alone. The mansion's storm drainage system becomes their secret entrance. Crawling through tunnels that smell like decay and old money, they navigate by phone flashlight and pure determination. They emerge in a utility room that adjoins the ritual chamber. Through a crack in the door, they see everything. Chief Adebayo raises the meteorite knife above Amna's heart. Ancient words pour from his lips in languages that died with empires. The air itself seems to thicken with malevolent presence. 10 seconds, Detective Chukwu whispers. "I'll create a distraction. You get the girl." "Wait," Zainab says, pulling out her phone. "The world needs to see this." She opens her live streaming app and hits record. Within seconds, her followers start joining. Within minutes, the viewer count explodes. 500, 5,000, 50,000 people watching in real time as one of Nigeria's most respected philanthropists prepares to murder a child. The knife begins its descent toward Amina's chest. Detective Chukwu kicks open the door and shouts, "Police! Drop the weapon!" Chaos erupts. The candles scatter, casting wild shadows across the chamber. Chief Adebayo spins toward the detective, the knife gleaming in his hand like liquid murder. But Zainab is already moving. While Chief Adebayo focuses on the armed threat, she sprints toward Amna, her phone still streaming everything to a global audience that's now reaching into the hundreds of thousands. "Nigeria's most beloved philanthropist is a serial killer," she shouts at her phone camera while cutting Amina's bonds. "Share the stream. Save this girl. The world needs to know." Chief Adebayo realizes what's happening. His secret, protected for 15 years by wealth, power, and careful planning, is being broadcast live to the entire world. He lunges at Zainab with the meteorite knife. Detective Chukwu fires a warning shot into the ceiling. "Stop!" But Chief Adebayo is beyond reason now. 15 years of perfect murders, of divine protection, of absolute power, all destroyed by a journalist with a smartphone. He keeps charging. The second gunshot echoes through the mansion like thunder. Dawn breaks over Lagos, and the entire city is talking about the same thing. A live stream that shattered everything they thought they knew about wealth, power, and evil. Chief Adebayo lies in Lagos General Hospital, a bullet wound in his shoulder, handcuffed to a bed that's surrounded by more police officers than some countries have in their entire force. He's alive, but his empire is crumbling faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. Amina is safe, traumatized but alive, surrounded by family members who can barely believe how close they came to losing her forever. And Zainab's live stream? It didn't just go viral, it broke the internet. 50 million views in the first 24 hours. News stations around the world picked up the story. The hashtag had Akara Ritualist trends globally for a week. But the real victory isn't measured in views or headlines. Within hours of the stream, families across Lagos begin coming forward with stories they've kept silent for years. missing sons, vanished daughters, people who disappeared after eating from street vendors. The official investigation expands from one man to a network that reaches into the highest levels of Nigerian society. Detective Chukwu is promoted and given resources to investigate corruption throughout the Lagos police force. Turns out, Chief Adebayo had been bribing officials for years to keep missing persons cases closed. And Zainab? She turns the abandoned Akara stall into something beautiful. With funding from viewers of her viral stream, she transforms it into a legitimate food cooperative run by the families of Chief Adebayo's victims. Every morning, they serve free Akara to students and workers who can't afford breakfast. But here's my favorite part of this ending. They use Chief Adebayo's own recipe. The man who perverted food into a weapon of evil, his own creation, is now feeding the hungry, supporting the poor, and healing the community he tried to destroy. The taste of justice, it turns out, is sweeter than any revenge. Chief Adebayo will spend the rest of his life in prison. His billions will be distributed to victim compensation funds. His mansion has been turned into a shelter for missing persons' families. And somewhere in that prison cell, as he sits alone with his thoughts, I hope he remembers the last words Zainab said to him before the police took him away. You thought you could buy power with blood, but the only real power is truth. And truth, once it starts spreading, is impossible to stop. The Akara stall still operates every morning on that same corner where 3 busy streets meet. But now it represents something different. Not predation, but protection. Not evil hiding behind kindness, but actual kindness conquering evil. And if you're ever in Lagos, if you happen to walk past that corner and smell the incredible aroma of fresh Akara frying in hot oil, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the most ordinary places hide extraordinary secrets. Remember that evil can wear the kindest face. But most importantly, remember that truth has a power that no amount of money can buy. The Akara ritualist is finished, but the families he destroyed are healing. The city he terrorized is stronger. And somewhere in Nigeria right now, a young journalist is asking the kinds of questions that powerful people don't want answered. Because this is what real justice looks like. Not just punishing the guilty, but transforming their weapons into tools of healing. And that's a taste that lasts forever. If this story made you think twice about the people you trust, if it reminded you that evil often hides behind familiar faces, then share it. Hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories like this out there. Stories of ordinary heroes exposing extraordinary monsters. The truth is hungry, and it's time to feed it.